At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to a lawyer from Texas known as the counselor. He and his girlfriend Laura are in bed talking about different things. The counselor has a flight to Amsterdam in the evening where he is going to purchase an engagement ring for his girlfriend. Meanwhile, somewhere in Mexico, heaps of drugs are being packed in barrels and hidden in a sewage truck. The said truck is then driven across the border to the United States without being caught by the authorities. When it reaches its destination, it is stored at a sewage treatment plant. The following day, the counselor is in Amsterdam. He goes to meet a famous diamond dealer who presents him with the finest diamonds in the world. One diamond in particular catches the counselor's attention. They check it under a microscope and praise its beauty. The two get in quite a lengthy conversation on topics ranging from diamonds to philosophy surrounding Judaism and its place in the modern world. After returning to the United States, the counselor attends a party in Texas thrown by his associate Rainer and his girlfriend Malkina. Malkina is a seductress who secretly only wants money and power. Rainer claims that he likes being with smart women, which is why he chose Malkina, but because she is so smart, he doesn't trust her. He is a drug dealer who has connections with Mexican drug lords. Since the drug lords are ruthless when it comes to business, he has to be very careful when handling their belongings. The counselor expresses his desire to join him in the business. They talk about an upcoming drug deal which is going to be the counselor's first. Before the counselor gets into the business, Rainer warns him about the risks of working with criminals who would be more than happy to kill you if they had to. He also describes a method of execution that they use which makes people quiver in fear. They use a device called the bolito, made up of a string and run on a battery that gradually strangles and decapitates the victim. Later that day, the counselor brings Laura to a fancy restaurant for dinner. Taking the opportunity, he proposes to her with the ring he had brought from Amsterdam. She happily says yes to the proposal and the two kiss. Laura and Malkina are hanging out by the swimming pool talking about the proposal. Malkina subtly tries to seduce her into cheating on her fiancé, but Laura dismisses her. Meanwhile, the counselor is on his way to meet a man named Westray, a business associate of Rainer's. He is there to deliver his investment for the upcoming drug deal. Westray informs the counselor of the deal's 4,000% return rate. It is sure to make him a lot of money. However, he also warns him against the Mexican cartels. Westray seems to be unsure of the counselor's willingness to get involved in the business. He asks him if he is sure about the investment, to which the counselor says that he is confident. Following a long conversation with Westray, the counselor goes to the Texas State Penitentiary to talk to a prison inmate named Ruth. She is a client of his who is on trial for murder. He asks her for her dress size to buy her one for the next hearing. Ruth is impressed by the counselor's slyness and the lengths he goes to prove his clients are innocent. However, she currently has more concerning matters on her mind. Her biker son has been recently arrested for speeding and cannot post bail. Because he is her lawyer, she asks the counselor to do her a favor and get her son out of jail, and he agrees. Later, the counselor goes to meet Rainer at a club that is still being renovated for the opening. The two have partnered up to establish it. Rainer says that they will be able to open it for the public in about 3 weeks. He also tells the counselor's story about how a friend was beaten up by a man for hitting on his wife. Later that day, the counselor and Laura are in a restaurant waiting for their food when a man named Tony and his girlfriend approach them. Tony is the counselor's former associate who he doesn't fancy talking to. Tony insults the counselor in front of Laura, asking her to be careful of his true intentions. After he leaves, the counselor apologizes to Laura for the inconvenience and asks her to forget him. Then we see Malkina go to the church to ask forgiveness for her sins on Laura's advice. She wants to test the priest, but as she starts to talk about sexual intercourse, the priest finds out she is not a Catholic and asks her to leave. Somewhere else, Rainer and the counselor are at the club again signing some papers and preparing for its opening. As they talk, Rainer tells the counselor about his girlfriend's weird fantasies and the time when he witnessed her masturbate with his Ferrari California's windshield. When the counselor asks why he is telling him about the incident, Rainer asks him to be careful with women because you never know their intentions for sure. Somewhere else, a man named the Wireman is setting up a wire stretched across an empty desert road to kill a valued drug cartel member known as the Green Hornet. He sets up the bolito device that Rainer had once told the counselor about. At night, when the Green Hornet is riding his bike, he falls on the trap and is decapitated within seconds. The Green Hornet turns out to be Ruth's son, who the counselor had bailed out from jail some days ago. Meanwhile, Laura calls Malkina and tells her about a weird dream she had. Malkina, who had always urged her to explore her sexuality, suggests they get together, but Laura declines the offer. The following day, the wireman who killed the Green Hornet uses the key he had stolen from the dead body to steal the batch of drugs that was supposed to be sent to the cartel. Such a huge robbery causes tension in the entire drug network. The counselor gets a call from Westray asking him to meet immediately. They discuss the matter, and the counselor finds out that the people from the cartel want to talk to him because they believe he was behind the Green Hornet's death. According to them, the counselor releasing him from prison was also planned to get him killed. Westray says that the counselor is in huge trouble because those people do not believe in coincidences. Meanwhile, the wireman is transporting the drugs to the said location, but on the way is pulled over by 2 cartel members pretending to be police officers. A gunfight ensues, resulting in the death of the wireman and his accomplice. The cartel members repossess the truck with the drugs and get it delivered to its final destination, where it was supposed to have gone. Because of the counselor's connections, Rayner is also in trouble. He quickly throws away his phone and calls Laura using a stranger's phone. He asks her to go home and stay inside until his next call. Following that, he goes to meet Rayner, who is just as stressed. Now that the counselor is on the cartel's bad side, he doesn't want to do any business with him. Still, both of them know that they can either wait for the cartel members to come for them or run away. After the counselor leaves, Malkina approaches Rayner and asks him what he wants to do next. She bluntly claims that when the cartel members come for him, she will not be there. Rayner understands that she has to save her life first. In the meantime, Laura calls the counselor and asks him to meet her in another city. He assures her that everything will be fine and hangs up. In the following scene, Rayner is driving through the city trying to run away to another country so the enemies wouldn't find him. However, his plan fails when a black car that he recognizes stops him on the way. He freaks out and tries to drive away, but is soon stopped by them. The people sent by the cartel drag him out of the car, but he still puts up a fight. At last, a man shoots him twice and kills him. Meanwhile, the counselor packs his bags to meet Laura in another city. Before leaving the house, he calls Westray to advise him to run away as soon as he can. After the call, he throws his phone away to never be in contact with anyone from the business again. The counselor also gets out of his house with his luggage. Somewhere else, Laura is about to board a flight when the cartel members in a black car follow her. She tries to run, but they catch her and abduct her after a little struggle. The counselor reaches the destination hotel and waits for her, but she never arrives. He gets more and more impatient with time. When the day ends, it is clear to him that she has been kidnapped because of his deeds. Somewhere else, we see Malkina talking to someone on the phone. It is then revealed that she was the one who appointed the wireman to steal the drugs and blame it on the counselor and Rayner. She is the mastermind behind getting Rayner killed and Laura abducted. However, the drug was later stolen by the people of the cartel again, so she still hasn't given up trying to acquire it. In a last-ditch effort to find his fiancée, the counselor contacts a high-ranking cartel member named Jefe. He goes to visit him, but the man only allows him a call. The counselor asks for suggestions on what to do next, but Jefe asks him to give up. He also offers his life for Laura's life, yet Jefe stays on his grounds. The drug lord starts to teach him philosophy, citing the life and poetry of Antonio Machado. Before hanging up, Jefe advises the counselor to resign himself to his fate that was created by the choices. After the call, the counselor is left hopeless. He has no will to live without Laura, who he loves so much. In the meantime, Westray lands in London. While checking into a hotel, he meets a blonde American girl and is instantly attracted by her beauty. They talk for a while and decide to meet for a drink later. As for the counselor, he remains in Mexico drinking till the end of the day and mourning Laura's fate. We see him having a mental breakdown in his dusty hotel room. Back in London, the blonde girl from earlier is seen hanging out with Malkina. It is revealed to us that she has been appointed by her to seduce Westray and acquire his bank details and social security number. The blonde girl has successfully completed her task. She hands the details to Malkina but says the details won't be of any use unless they have his computer. Then it hits her that Malkina is planning to kill Westray to acquire his wealth. Not wanting to get involved with something so heavy, she doesn't take the money for her help. Later, Westray is walking down the street with a bag when a man runs to him and uses a Bolito device on him. The man also steals his bag with a laptop. Westray tries to take off the device, but his fingers and throat are cut and he is eventually killed. A package is slipped under the door of the counselor's hotel room. He opens it and finds a DVD with Hola written on it. Realizing that the disc contains a snuff film of Laura sent by the cartel, he breaks down into tears. In a dumping ground, Laura's headless body is thrown with the rest of the trash. In the last scene, Malkina meets with her banker at a fancy restaurant and explains that she wants to move to Hong Kong with all her money.